Morning at the tower begins, as always, with fire. Not metaphorical fire, actual breakfast-related fire. People think wizards wake to incense and enlightenment. I wake to porridge, screaming for mercy. The cauldron's on strike again. It refuses to cook unless someone compliments it first. Apparently self-esteem is part of the recipe now, so I'm standing there in my dressing gown, half awake, muttering, "You're a very handsome cauldron, truly radiant today." It burps steam and grudgingly begins to bubble. Progress. Kevin, the dragon tadpole, is perched on the counter. He sneezes. The toast bursts into flames. I sigh, wave a hand, extinguish it, and say, "Perfect. Charcoal, just how I like it." Kevin wiggles happily. The kid's proud of arson. Parenting is complicated. 3 goblins are experimenting with coffee again. They call it mana acceleration. Last time they tried this, the tower vibrated for 2 days. We still don't talk about the chicken incident. One of them yells, "Master Warren, it's stable this time." I duck behind the table just in case. There's a pop, a flash, and suddenly I can hear colours. Stable apparently now means psychedelic. Mera, the mare-child, swims circles in her floating tank by the window. She's humming to herself and composing something called Ballad of the Breakfast Explosion. She says it's in 6/4 time. I say it's in not before I've had tea. The dryad Juno walks in trailing petals, scolding the goblins for over-oxygenating the mana. They glare at her. She glares back. It's like watching 2 thunderstorms decide who gets custody of the sky. I tell them all to sit down for breakfast. They do, eventually. 17 apprentices, 1 long table, half of them airborne. Kevin's bowl is fireproof. Learn that the hard way. I pour tea. The cup levitates out of my hand and floats away. The cup says in a faintly offended voice, "No sugar today." I'm too tired to argue with crockery, and there are moments when I wonder what my life choices were. I studied for decades to master the arcane, bend the fabric of reality, and here I am, negotiating breakfast with sentient cookware. The council would be proud. Now, you might think I exaggerate, but last week the porridge unionized. They presented demands: better oats, less heat, hazard pay. I offered raisins. We reached a compromise. After breakfast, it's lesson time. I announce, "Today we're learning basic transmutation." Half the class cheers, half hides. Kevin burps a small spark. I take that as enthusiasm. I draw the sigil on the blackboard, take a deep breath, and before I can finish the first line, the entire tower turns into a lemon. Not metaphorically, a literal 12-story lemon. The walls smell incredible, and the apprentices applaud. I sigh and say, "In fairness, that's the most zest we've had all week." The dryad asks if this counts as a success. I tell her it depends whether the roof is technically rind. She writes that down. I really hope she doesn't quote me later. Broderick from the council installed a compliance scry orb in the tower last month. It's meant to record our lessons for quality assurance. Keep forgetting it's there. Apparently, yesterday's footage was 3 hours of Kevin hiccuping fire and 1 long argument between 2 goblins about whether potatoes qualify as familiars. I sent the file to the council titled Progress Report. Haven't heard back yet. They're probably still discussing the potato ethics. People think magic is about control. It isn't. It's about timing and the ability to pretend you meant to do that. Take Mera. She was meant to learn water shaping. Instead, she invented whirlpool espresso. It's genuinely good coffee, if you don't mind the existential dread aftertaste. Around noon, things usually calm down, by which I mean the fires burn lower. That's when the council's orb glows red. Broderick is watching. I straighten my robe, try to look professional, and launch into an improvised lecture about metaphysical fluidity of form. Behind me, a goblin is juggling frogs. Juno is sprouting vines in applause. Kevin yawns, lights the curtains. I would just keep talking. If I pretend hard enough, Maybe this counts as curriculum. Later that day, I find a note from one of the apprentices. It says, "Thank you for not exploding us." Underneath, in smaller handwriting, yet it's pinned to a loaf of bread that may be breathing.
I decide not to investigate.
Sometimes when the tower finally goes quiet, the kind of quiet that means everyone's passed out, not plotting, I sit by the window. The lemon spell still hasn't fully worn off, and the moonlight hits the yellow walls and everything glows softly. For once, the chaos feels right. These kids are learning, not the tidy way the council wants it, but they're learning resilience, curiosity, mischief, the real ingredients of magic. I remember the first day one of them called me Master Warren. I looked behind me to see who they meant. Now it's normal, terrifying but normal. I never wanted apprentices, but then again, they never wanted to be orphans. And here we are, trying. The truth is they're teaching me more than I'm teaching them. Patience, flexibility, how to survive breakfast explosions with dignity. The council calls me reckless. They're not wrong, but if loving chaos counts as negligence, then consider me professionally negligent. Anyway, it's late. The tower smells faintly of citrus and redemption. Kevin's asleep in the sink. The goblins are snoring under the table like a small thunderstorm. Juno's leaves shimmer in her dreams. I sip cold tea and think 17 apprentices, one tired wizard. And somehow it works. Breakfast tomorrow, can't wait. Probably going to burn down the kitchen again. Magic isn't about perfection, it's about persistence and good insurance.